The elevator stopped between the fourth and fifth floor at 11:43 p.m. Eunice didn't scream, but pressed herself against the back wall and held her son's Spider-Man backpack tighter against her chest. The man across from her didn't move, Min Yoongi, who officiates on the fifth floor with expensive suits. The kind of quiet that made grown men nervous. She'd seen him 4 times in 2 years. Each time, she'd looked at the floor until he passed. Now there was nowhere to look except at him. The fluorescent light flickered, went out, and came back dimmer. "You're scared." His voice was quiet, perfect English, no accent. She didn't answer. "Not of the elevator," he said. "Of me." Her fingers went white around the backpack straps. "Yes." The light died again, 4 seconds of darkness. When it came back, he was still watching her. Smart. He didn't move closer, didn't smile, just stood there like he had all the time in the world. "I've seen you," he said. "Building entrance, 6:47 a.m. Saturdays. You walk him to the bus stop. He has your smile." The elevator shuddered, metal screaming somewhere above them. "They'll fix it," he said. "Maintenance is slow here, but they'll fix it." "How do you know?" Something flickered across his face, not quite a smile. "I own the building." She closed her eyes, counted to 3, opened them. He was closer now, not by much, just 1 step. "Your name is Eunice. You work at Mercy General, night shift. You've been late on rent twice. Both times you paid cash the next day." Her throat closed up. "Are you going to evict me?" "No." The light went out again. In the dark, she heard fabric shifting, footsteps, stopping right in front of her. "You won't believe what happens next, and I'm only sharing it with my subscribers. Hit that subscribe button now and comment where you're watching from, because what we are about to see will leave you speechless. Let's get to it." When the light came back, he was close enough that she could see the exact color of his eyes. Dark brown, almost black. "I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to tell me the truth." She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything except wait. "Who is your son's father?" The backpack slipped from her hands. He caught it before it hit the floor. And when he straightened up, still holding it, she saw something change in his face, something that made her stomach drop. "This isn't his," Yoongi said quietly. He was staring at the name written on Sharpie on the inside tag. "This is yours, from when you were a kid." She tried to grab it back. He held it out of reach. Nobody buys their kid a 20-year-old backpack unless they can't afford a new one. Nobody works overnight at a hospital and takes the stairs instead of the elevator unless they're hiding. And nobody— He stopped, tilted his head. "Nobody looks at me the way you just did unless they know exactly who I am." "I don't know anything." "You're lying." The elevator dropped, just an inch. Just enough to make her gasp and reach for the wall. He didn't flinch. "His name, your son's father. Say it." "Why?" "Because 3 days ago, someone tried to kill me in the parking garage downstairs, and the man they sent?" He held up the backpack, pointed at something she'd never noticed before. A small tear in the bottom corner, repair stitching, green thread. "You sew." He sewed. "You're careful with your hands. He was too. You both learned from the same person." She shook her head. "That doesn't mean—" "His name was Ben Webb, 28, died in my garage with a gun in his hand and your phone number in his pocket." The world tilted. Ben, her brother. The light went out again. Stayed out. In the darkness, Yoongi's voice was right next to her ear. "So, I'll ask one more time, Eunice. Who is your son's father? Because if Ben was trying to kill me to protect him—" The light came back. He was close enough that she could see the exact color of his eyes. Dark brown, almost black. "Then your son," he finished, "is about to become very important to a lot of very dangerous people." Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. The elevator lurched, started moving, going up. Yoongi stepped back, straightened his jacket, held out the backpack. She took it with shaking hands. The doors opened on the 5th floor. He walked out, stopped, looked back. You have until tomorrow night. Then I come to your apartment and you tell me everything. The door started to close. And Eunice, his eyes locked on hers, and the man your son's father is... The door shut. His last words echoed in the empty elevator. He owns me. The elevator took her to the 7th floor. She didn't remember pressing the button. Her apartment was 7C, end of the hall. The light above her door had been out for 6 weeks. She'd stopped asking maintenance to fix it. Safer in the dark, anyway. Her hands shook, putting the key in the lock. Inside, Miss Chen from next door was asleep on the couch, TV on mute, her grandson's medical textbooks spread across the coffee table. Eunice had been paying her $40 a week to watch Elijah since the regular sitter got deported. $40 she didn't have. But you don't leave a 6-year-old alone at night, not in this building, not anywhere. She touched Miss Chen's shoulder. The old woman startled awake, hand going to her chest. Sorry. Eunice kept her voice low. I'm back. Miss Chen squinted at her. 74 years old, survived the Cultural Revolution, lost her husband to lung disease and her daughter to America's healthcare system. She knew what fear looked like. You okay? Fine. Long shift. Miss Chen stood slowly, arthritis in both knees. She never complained, just moved like the world had beaten her down and she'd decided to stay down there where it was safer. Some people carry trauma in their shoulders. She carried it in the way she never quite stood up straight anymore. The boy ate, Miss Chen said. Rice, eggs. He did his reading. Thank you. Miss Chen took the 2 20s Eunice handed her, folded them small, tucked them in her bra where her son couldn't find them when he came looking for drinking money. At the door, she paused. That man on 5, she said quietly, the Korean one. I saw him watching when you left tonight. Eunice's blood went cold. What do you mean, watching? Just watching, from his window, like he was waiting for something. Miss Chen left. Eunice locked the door, both locks, the chain, the deadbolt she'd installed herself with a YouTube tutorial and a dollar store screwdriver. Then she stood there in the dark and tried to remember how to breathe. There's something about poverty you need to know. It's not just about being broke. It's about being known. Every landlord, every bill collector, every person you owe money to, they know where you sleep. They know your schedule. They know exactly how trapped you are. And when you're a single mother, when you're black and alone and trying to keep your head down, you're not just poor. You're visible in all the wrong ways. Invisible in all the ways that matter. She walked to Elijah's room. The door was open. Always open. She couldn't sleep if she couldn't hear him breathing. He was curled up under his blanket. Iron Man this time. She rotated between the 3 she'd found at Goodwill, washed one while he slept under another. He didn't know they were secondhand. She'd peeled the donation stickers off in the parking lot. 6 years old, her whole world in a twin bed with one flat pillow. She had her nose, her mouth, her stubborn chin, her father's eyes. She sat on the edge of the bed, brushed his forehead. He was warm, always ran a little hot. She used to worry it was a fever. Now she knew it was just him, just how he was built. Hey, baby, she whispered. He didn't wake up. Good. He needed sleep. Growing boy. The doctor at the free clinic said he was small for his age, 10th percentile. She smiled and nodded and didn't mention that she'd been skipping lunch to make sure he ate breakfast. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't open it. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Don't make me come get you. No name. Didn't need one. She deleted it, turned off her phone, sat in the dark next to her son and tried to figure out how everything had gone so wrong. Ben. God, Ben. Her baby brother, 3 years younger, same green thread because their grandmother taught them both to sew, sitting on her kitchen floor in Logos, showing them how to fix clothes instead of throwing them away. Waste nothing, she said. You never know when nothing is all you'll have. Ben was 17 the last time Eunice saw him, Angry, broke, tired of watching her mother cry over bills she couldn't pay, and a husband who loved her but couldn't keep a job longer than 6 months. Their father wasn't a bad man. That's what made it worse. He was just broken. Depression, probably. Maybe bipolar. They'd never know because he refused to see a doctor, and they couldn't afford one anyway. He'd go weeks being fine, present, making promises, then he'd disappear into himself and the lights would get shut off again. Eunice learned to forge her mother's signature by 13, learned to call the electric company and cry just right so they'd give her another extension, learned to smile at the youth pastor at church and ask real casual if there was any food left over from the potluck. That youth pastor had kind eyes and a wife who baked cookies every Sunday. He also had hands that wandered during prayer. She stopped going to church when she was 15. Ben stopped going when he found out why. 2 years later, he was gone. No note, no goodbye, just gone. Their mother had cried for 3 months straight. Then she got sick. Lupus. Undiagnosed for years because she kept ignoring the symptoms and they kept not having insurance. She died when Eunice was 22. Their father followed 6 months later. Heart attack. The doctor said it was genetic. Eunice knew it was grief. And Ben? Ben sent money. Cash in the mail. Never a return address, never enough to matter, but always enough to prove he was still alive. Until 3 years ago, when the money stopped. She'd thought he was dead. Turned out he was just busy trying to kill a man in a parking garage, busy getting himself killed instead. She pressed her palm against her mouth to keep from sobbing. Elijah stirred, mumbled something in his sleep, settled. She couldn't fall apart. Not now. Not with him right there. So she did what she always did. She got up, she went to the kitchen, she made herself move. Dishes in the sink. She washed them by hand because the dishwasher had been broken since she moved in. Water so hot it turned her hands red. Good. Pain was good. Pain was focus. The human body responds to emotional trauma the same way it responds to physical injury. Cortisol spikes, heart rate increases, immune system suppresses. Chronic stress literally rewires your brain. The amygdala gets bigger, the hippocampus gets smaller, you become better at detecting threats and worse at remembering joy. Single mothers have higher rates of anxiety disorders than any other demographic, not because they're weak, because their bodies are trying to keep them alive. She dried the dishes, put them away, wiped down the counter, swept the floor. 2:15 a.m. She had to be up in 3 hours for Elijah's breakfast, then the bus, then her shift. She couldn't afford to sleep, but she couldn't afford not to. Her phone buzzed again. She'd turned it off. It was still buzzing. She picked it up. The screen was black, dead battery, but it was vibrating. That's not possible. She dropped it. It kept buzzing on the floor. Then it stopped. The screen lit up. White text on black. I know you're scared, but running won't help. He's not the only one looking for you. The screen went black again. Her heart was trying to break through her ribs. She grabbed the phone, tried to turn it on. Nothing. Completely dead. Someone knocked on the door. 3 times. Slow. Deliberate. She looked at the clock. 2:17 a.m. Nobody knocked at 2:17 a.m. with good news. She moved to Elijah's room, stood in the doorway, between him and whatever was outside. The knocking came again. Eunice, a woman's voice. Familiar. Open the door. She knew that voice. She opened the door with the chain still on. Dr. Sarah Lim stood in the hallway, Eunice's supervisor at Mercy General, 51, Korean American, second generation, chief of emergency medicine, and the only reason Eunice still had a job after showing up late twice last month. What are you doing here? Dr. Lim looked tired, more tired than usual. She was holding a manila envelope. Can I come in? It's 2 in the morning. I know, this couldn't wait. Eunice undid the chain, let her in, locked everything behind her. Dr. Lim glanced at Elijah's room, kept her voice low. Min Young-gi called me tonight. Eunice's stomach dropped. He asked about you, about your employment, your schedule, your family. What did you tell him? Nothing. Dr. Lim set the envelope on the counter. Because 3 years ago, you made me promise that if anyone ever came asking questions about you, I'd lie. Eunice had forgotten that. Late night in the break room, too much coffee and not enough sleep. Dr. Lim had found her crying in the supply closet, and instead of reporting her, she'd sat down next to her and waited. "You never told me why," Dr. Lim said. "I can't." "Eunice." Dr. Lim's voice was gentle, the way she talked to patients who were dying. "I know who Min Young-gi is. Everyone at the hospital knows, and if he's looking for you, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't say you did." Dr. Lim pushed the envelope toward her. "But you need to see this." Eunice opened it. Inside were photos, black and white, security footage from the hospital. Her, walking into the ER 6 years ago, pregnant, alone, bleeding. She'd almost forgotten that night. The body has a way of protecting you from memories that could break you, but seeing the photos brought it all back. 22 years old, 7 months pregnant, her mother dead 3 weeks for Ben, Ben gone, her father drinking himself toward the same grave, and the baby's father? He'd been very clear, very calm, very precise. "You keep the baby, you do it alone. I don't know you, you don't know me, and if you ever tell anyone—" He hadn't finished the sentence. He hadn't needed to. "Who is he?" Dr. Lim asked quietly. Eunice closed the envelope, handed it back. "Someone who can't know I exist." "Min Young-gi knows you exist. That's different." "How?" "Because Young-gi was dangerous, but Elijah's father? He's a ghost, and ghosts leave no witnesses." Dr. Lim didn't leave. She made tea, chamomile, from a box she pulled out of her purse like she'd been planning this, like she knew Eunice would need something to hold on to. They sat at the kitchen table, the same table Eunice had found on the curb 3 years ago. Wobbly leg. She'd fixed it with a folded napkin and duct tape. "You want to know something about power?" Dr. Lim said. She wasn't looking at Eunice. She was looking at her tea. "Real power isn't about money. It's about information, about knowing things other people don't." Eunice waited. "Min Young-gi came to the hospital once," Dr. Lim continued. 2 years ago, gunshot wound, through and through, right shoulder. He walked into the ER at 4 a.m., paid cash, and walked out 3 hours later. "You treated him?" "I did." Dr. Lim took a sip. "He didn't make a sound, not when I cleaned the wound, not when I stitched it, just sat there and watched me work. And when I was done, he asked me one question." "What question?" "He asked if I believed in loyalty." The kitchen was so quiet Eunice could hear the refrigerator humming. "I said yes," Dr. Lim said, "because I thought he meant loyalty to him, but he didn't. He meant loyalty to principle, to doing the right thing even when it costs you." She set down her tea. "Then he told me that if I ever needed anything, protection, money, information, I should call him, and he gave me a number." "Did you ever call?" "Once." Dr. Lim's jaw tightened. "When my son got arrested. Possession. 3 grams. He was 19. Pre-med. One mistake, and suddenly he's facing 5 years." Eunice knew where this was going. She'd seen it happen to Ben, to half the boys from her neighborhood. The system didn't believe in second chances, not for people who looked like them. "So when Young-gi called tonight, asking about you, I knew it wasn't casual. He doesn't do casual, which means you're either in serious trouble or you have something he needs." "I don't have anything." "Then why is he looking?" Eunice's phone buzzed again. Still dead, still impossible. Dr. Lim saw it, frowned. "How long has it been doing that?" "Since tonight." Dr. Lim reached for it. Eunice pulled it back. "Don't." "Dr. Lim, that's not a glitch. Someone's sending you a signal through a closed device. That's—" She stopped. "That's the kind of technology the government uses, or people with government-level resources." "You're scaring me." "Good. You should be scared." Elijah coughed in his sleep. Both women froze, listened. He settled. Dr. Lim lowered her voice. "I need to tell you something about your brother." Eunice's chest tightened. "Ben came to the hospital 4 months ago. He didn't know I knew you. He used a fake name, but I recognized him from the photo on your desk." "What photo?" "The one you took down last year." Dr. Lim's eyes were sad. "I noticed when you removed it. I didn't ask why." Eunice had taken it down the day Elijah asked who the man in the picture was. She'd said nobody and hated herself for it. He had a stab wound, deep, defensive, like he'd been trying to protect something. I patched him up. He wouldn't tell me what happened, but while I was stitching, his phone rang. He answered in Korean. Ben didn't speak Korean. I know. That's why I paid attention. She hesitated. I'm fluent. My parents made sure of it. And what I heard... She stopped, started again. He was taking orders from someone who called him younger brother. In Korean, that's specific. It's not casual. It means hierarchy, family structure. It means Ben belonged to someone. The room tilted. He said a name, just once. Park Jin-woo. I don't know that name. You don't need to, but Yoongi does. Dr. Lim leaned forward. Park Jin-woo runs the largest trafficking network on the East Coast. Drugs, weapons, people. He's been untouchable for 15 years, and if Ben was working for him, Ben wouldn't. Eunice. Dr. Lim's voice was gentle, firm. Desperate people do desperate things, especially when someone they love is in danger. The words hit like a punch. What do you mean? Dr. Lim pulled out her phone, opened a news article, handed it to her. The headline read, Body found in parking garage. Police investigating gang-related homicide. The photo showed a man, face blurred, but Eunice recognized the jacket. Army green, thrift store find. She'd sewn the torn pocket. Herself. Ben, her baby brother, dead on the concrete next to a dumpster. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't... Dr. Lim took the phone back. I'm sorry. I know this is... Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know if you knew, and if you didn't, I didn't want to be the one. Dr. Lim stopped. I'm telling you now because you need to understand what you're dealing with. Ben died trying to kill Yoongi. That means Park Jin-woo wanted Yoongi dead. And if Yoongi knows Ben had family... He knows. Eunice's voice was hollow. He told me, in the elevator. Dr. Lim went still. What else did he tell you? That Elijah's father owns him, that people are going to come looking, that I have until tomorrow night to tell him everything. And will you? Eunice looked at Elijah's door, at the Iron Man blanket, at the Spider-Man backpack hanging on the hook. I don't know what to tell him. I don't know anything. You know who Elijah's father is. I can't. Eunice, Dr. Lim grabbed her hand, held tight. Listen to me. I've been in this country for 51 years. I've seen how this works. The powerful protect the powerful. The rest of us, we're collateral damage. And if you think staying silent will keep you safe, it's kept me safe for 6 years. 6 years ago, you weren't on Min Yoongi's radar. You are now, and men like him don't ask questions unless they already know half the answer. Eunice pulled her hand back, stood, paced to the window. Outside, the city was still awake, always awake. Yellow lights in windows, people working night shifts, people running from things they couldn't name, people like her. There's something else, Dr. Lim said quietly. About Elijah. Eunice turned. When you came to the ER 6 years ago, you were hemorrhaging, placental abruption, 28 weeks. We did an emergency C-section. I remember. What you don't remember is that you coded twice. We lost you on the table, brought you back, lost you again. Eunice's hand went to her stomach, to the scar she never looked at. While you were under, you kept saying a name, over and over. The anesthesiologist noted it in your chart. What name? Dr. Lim pulled up something on her phone, a scanned document, medical records, patient repeating, Daniel. Don't let Daniel find him. Don't let Daniel know. The floor disappeared. Daniel? She hadn't said that name out loud in 6 years. Who is Daniel? Dr. Lim asked. Eunice sat down before her legs gave out. Elijah's father. Full name. I can't. Eunice. If Yoongi is asking questions, it's because someone else is asking first. And if Daniel is connected to Park Jin-woo, then you're not just protecting your son, you're protecting a secret that very powerful people want buried. The phone buzzed again, vibrating across the table. Dr. Lim picked it up. The screen flickered. White text appeared. He's listening. He's always listening. Don't trust anyone. Then, especially not her. Dr. Lim dropped the phone like it burned. What the hell? Eunice grabbed it. The screen was black again, dead. Who sent that? Dr. Lim's voice was sharp, clinical, the voice she used in the ER when everything was going wrong. I don't know. Eunice! A sound outside. Footsteps. Heavy. Slow. Stopping right outside the door. Both women froze. The footsteps moved on, fading down the hall. Dr. Lim stood, grabbed her purse. I need to go. Wait. No. Dr. Lim was already at the door. I'm sorry, I wanted to help, but if someone's monitoring your phone... She stopped, looked back. Be careful who you trust, even Yoongi, especially Yoongi. You said he helped your son. He did, but that doesn't mean he's a good man. Dr. Lim opened the door, checked the hallway. It's just that he's useful. There's a difference. She left. Eunice locked the door, all 3 locks, stood there shaking. Her phone buzzed one more time. The screen stayed black, but she heard a voice, distorted, mechanical. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. If you don't show, I come for Elijah instead. Not Yoongi's voice. Someone else. The line went dead. Eunice slid down the door, sat on the floor, pulled her knees to her chest, and for the first time in 6 years, she let herself cry. Not because she was sad, because she finally understood. There was no running from this. There never had been. Eunice didn't sleep. She sat on the floor until her legs went numb. Then she got up and made Elijah's breakfast like the world wasn't ending. Oatmeal, brown sugar, sliced banana. The last banana. She'd have to buy more, but her account had $12 until Friday. Friday was 4 days away. Elijah stumbled out of his room at 6:30, hair sticking up, still half asleep. He climbed into her lap at the table, even though he was getting too big for it. She held him anyway. You smell like outside, Eunice said. I took the trash out early. Lie. She'd been standing in the hallway at 4 a.m. watching Yoongi's door, trying to figure out if he slept or if men like him just waited in the dark for people like her to make mistakes. Can I have the tablet? After breakfast. Just 10 minutes? After. He sighed, dramatic. 6 years old and already fluent in disappointment. She kissed the top of his head, breathed him in. Baby shampoo and sleep and something else, something that was just him, the smell that made her chest hurt in a good way. This is why she couldn't tell Yoongi anything. This is why she couldn't tell anyone. Because the moment Daniel's name left her mouth, Elijah stopped being hers. He became a liability, a loose end, a secret that needed erasing. And Daniel was very good at erasing things. Elijah ate his oatmeal, slow, careful. He'd learned not to waste food. She'd never taught him that directly. He'd just absorbed it, the way kids absorb everything you don't say out loud. Mom? Yeah, baby? Is Uncle Ben ever coming back? Her spoon stopped halfway to her mouth. Why are you asking that? Elijah shrugged. I had a dream about him. He was teaching me to tie shoes, the bunny ear way. Ben had taught her that way, sitting on their grandmother's porch in Lagos. 7 years old, he was 4. She'd taught him, and then he'd taught their cousin, and their cousin taught the neighbor's kid, and somehow that stupid bunny ear method had survived across an ocean and a generation. Uncle Ben is... She stopped, started over. He's not coming back, baby. Is he dead? Kids don't ask that question soft. They just ask it, blunt, because they haven't learned yet that some words are supposed to hurt. Yes. Elijah nodded, kept eating. Okay. That was it. Okay. She wanted to scream, wanted to cry, wanted to explain that Ben had loved him, had sent money for his diapers and his formula and his first pair of shoes, that Ben had made mistakes, but he'd been trying, that the world had chewed him up and spit him out, and it wasn't fair. But Elijah was 6, and 6-year-olds don't need to know how cruel the world is. Not yet. She got him ready for school, brushed his teeth, found his jacket. The zipper was broken. She'd fix it tonight. Maybe. The bus stop was 2 blocks away. She held his hand the whole way. Other kids. Other parents. Mostly mothers. A few grandmothers. One father who worked from home and always looked exhausted. Nobody talked to her. She didn't talk to them. That's how it worked in neighborhoods like this. You minded your business, you didn't ask questions, and you didn't make friends because friends became witnesses and witnesses became problems. The bus came. Elijah kissed her cheek, got on. She watched until the bus turned the corner. Then she walked back to the building and saw him, Yoongi, standing outside the entrance, black coat, hands in his pockets, looking at her like he'd been waiting all morning. She thought about running, her legs actually tensed, but where would she go? He owned the building. Dr. Lim said he owned the next 4 buildings. Men like him owned everything that mattered. So she walked up to him and waited. "You didn't sleep," he said. "How do you know?" He pointed at her face. "Your left eye, blood vessel. It bursts when you're stressed and tired. I noticed it last night in the elevator." She touched her eye, felt nothing. "You're observant." "I'm alive," he said. "Same thing." He opened the door for her. She didn't move. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. "You threatened my son." "No, I told you the truth. There's a difference." She wanted to argue, couldn't, because he was right. She went inside, he followed. The elevator was working again. Maintenance must have come overnight. They got in. She pressed 7, he pressed 5. The doors closed. "You know something about trauma?" Yoongi said. He wasn't looking at her. He was looking at the numbers. "The body keeps score. That's what the research says. Every bad thing that happens to you, your body remembers, even when your brain tries to forget." She said nothing. "Heart rate variability. It's a measure of how well your nervous system handles stress. People with childhood trauma, their HRV is lower. They're stuck in fight or flight, all the time, even when there's no threat." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because yours is low. I can see it. The way you breathe, shallow, fast. The way you hold your shoulders, tight, like you're waiting for someone to hit you." The elevator passed the 4th floor. "I'm not going to hit you," he said quietly. "But you'll hurt me in other ways." He looked at her then. Really looked. Yes. At least he was honest. The elevator stopped on 5. The doors opened. He didn't get out. 8 p.m., my apartment. Don't be late. "And if I don't come?" "Then I go to your apartment, and Elijah meets me instead." The doors started to close. She stuck her hand out. They bounced back. "You don't get to use my son." "I'm not using him. I'm protecting him." "From what?" "From the same people who killed your brother." The words hung in the air. "Ben tried to kill me, but he hesitated, half a second, right before he pulled the trigger. You know why people hesitate?" She shook her head. "Because they don't want to do it. Because someone's making them. Someone who has leverage. Someone who threatens something they love more than they hate you." Eunice's throat closed. "Ben had a photo in his pocket. You and Elijah. From 2 years ago. The park. He's on the swings. You're pushing him. You're both smiling." She remembered that day. The photo. A stranger had offered to take it. She said yes because Elijah had begged and she could never say no to him. "Ben wasn't trying to kill me for Park Jin-woo," Yoongi said. "He was trying to kill me to save you, which means Jin-woo knows about Elijah, which means—" "Stop." But he didn't. which means the only reason you're still alive is because Jin Woo thinks you're useful, and the moment you stop being useful, I said stop. He stepped out of the elevator, turned. 8 p.m., Eunice. You can hate me, but don't be stupid. The doors closed. She rode to the 7th floor, went to her apartment, locked herself inside. Then she pulled out the shoebox from the top of her closet. Inside, a burner phone, dead. She hadn't charged it in 3 years. She plugged it in, waited. It took 5 minutes to power on. 1 contact. No name, just a number. She stared at it for a long time. Then she pressed call. It rang 4 times. A voice answered. Smooth, educated. The kind of voice that belonged in boardrooms and country clubs. I told you never to call this number. Daniel. She closed her eyes. They know. About Elijah. They know. Silence. Long enough that she thought he'd hung up. Then, who knows? Park Jin-woo, Min Yoongi, maybe others. I don't... How? My brother, Ben. He worked for Jin-woo. He tried to kill Yoongi. He had our photo. They connected us. More silence. Here's what they don't tell you about powerful men. They don't panic. They calculate. Every second of silence is a decision tree. Options, outcomes, acceptable losses. Is Elijah safe? Daniel asked. For now. Where is he? School. Keep him there. I'm sending someone. No. Eunice. His voice was sharp now, cold. The voice she remembered from the hospital, from the moment she told him she was pregnant and watched his face go blank. This isn't a discussion. If Jin Woo knows about Elijah, then Elijah is leverage against me, against you, against everyone in my orbit. I will not allow that. He's your son. He's a complication. The words hit like glass. You told me to disappear, she said. Her voice was shaking. You told me if I ever contacted you, if I ever told anyone, you'd make sure I regretted it. So I disappeared. I worked overnight shifts. I moved 6 times in 4 years. I changed my name. I changed his name. I did everything you asked. And now you're saying it's not enough? It was enough until your brother made it not enough. She wanted to scream, wanted to throw the phone, wanted to reach through the line and make him feel something. But Daniel didn't feel. That's what had attracted her in the first place, his control, his certainty. After the lifetime of chaos, he'd felt like solid ground. Turns out, solid ground is just another name for ice. Someone's coming for him at 2:45, Daniel said. School pickup, black car, Virginia plates. They'll use the phrase, your mother sent me. He goes with them. No questions. Where are you taking him? Somewhere safe. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. The line went dead. She stood there holding the phone until her hand cramped. Then she grabbed her keys and ran. The school was 15 minutes on foot. She made it in 8. The front office. The secretary, Mrs. Palmer, 62, kind eyes, always had butterscotch candies in a jar on her desk. I need to add someone to Elijah's pickup list, Eunice said. She was out of breath, sweating. Mrs. Palmer frowned. Are you okay, honey? I'm fine. There's been a family emergency. Someone's coming to get him at 2:45. I need to make sure they're approved. Do you have their ID information? No, but they'll say... She stopped, thought. They'll say I sent them. Mrs. Palmer's frown deepened. Eunice, you know our policy. Without proper authorization... Please, Eunice leaned on the desk. Please, it's an emergency. Mrs. Palmer looked at her for a long moment. Then she did something Eunice didn't expect. She picked up the phone and called security. Security was a man named Jerome, late 50s, ex-military, the kind of presence that made rowdy parents shut up during pickup. He walked into the office with his hand near his belt. Not on his weapon, just near it. Reflex, training, threat assessment. Eunice saw it happen in real time. Him sizing her up, looking for signs, dilated pupils, aggressive posture, elevated heart rate. She had all 3. Mrs. Palmer says you're trying to authorize an emergency pickup, Jerome said. His voice was neutral, careful. Yes. For Elijah Webb? Yes. And the person picking him up, you don't have their ID information? It's complicated. Ma'am, it's really not. Jerome crossed his arms. Either you know who's getting your kid or you don't. Which is it? Eunice's mind was racing. If she said she didn't know, they'd flag her, call CPS maybe, start asking questions she couldn't answer. If she said she did know, she'd have to give Daniel's information, and the moment his name entered any systems, school records, background checks, anything, people would start connecting dots. People like Yoongi, people like Park Jin-woo. I know who it is, she said finally, but I can't give you their information right now. I just need you to let them take him when they arrive. Jerome and Mrs. Palmer exchanged a look. That's not how this works. I know it's not, but this is... She stopped, started over. My son is in danger, real danger, and the person coming to get him is the only one who can keep him safe. Then call the police. The police can't help. Why not? Because the police work for the same system that protects men like Daniel, because half the precinct is probably on Park Jin-woo's payroll, because she'd learned at 15 that authority figures don't protect people like her, they just document what happens after. But she couldn't say any of that. Please, she said instead, I'm begging you. Mrs. Palmer stood up, came around the desk, put a hand on Eunice's arm. Honey, I need you to listen to me. If someone is threatening you or your son, we have resources, domestic violence shelters, legal aid. We can help. You can't. Eunice pulled her arm back. Nobody can. This is bigger than... Her phone buzzed. The burner phone, still in her jacket pocket. She pulled it out. Text message. Unknown number. Don't trust the school. Don't trust anyone. Take him yourself. Now. She looked around. The office, the hallway beyond, the windows. Someone was watching. Ma'am, Jerome's hand moved closer to his belt. I need you to calm down. I am calm. You're shaking. She was, her whole body, like a current running through her she couldn't shut off. Another text. Black car outside. 2 men. They're not from Daniel. Run. Her blood turned to ice. She looked at Jerome, at Mrs. Palmer. I need to see my son. Right now. Mrs. Webb, right now. Jerome stepped forward. Ma'am, I can't let you disrupt... She ran, past him, past Mrs. Palmer, down the hallway. She knew this building, knew which classroom. 2nd grade, room 107, end of the hall. Behind her, Security, we have a situation. She didn't stop. Room 107, door closed. She could see through the window, 20 kids, Mrs. Chen, different Mrs. Chen, younger, teacher, writing on the board. Elijah in the 3rd row, coloring something, focused. She opened the door. 20 kids looked up. Mrs. Chen turned. Can I help? I need Elijah. Family emergency. Elijah's head snapped up. His eyes went wide. Mom? She crossed the room, grabbed his hand, pulled him up. We have to go. But I didn't finish. Now, baby. Mrs. Chen moved to block the door. Ma'am, you can't just take him without... Jerome appeared in the hallway, radio in hand. Step away from the child. Eunice's heart was trying to break through her ribs. Here's what happens in your brain during acute stress. Your prefrontal cortex shuts down, the part that handles logic, planning, rational thought. It goes offline. What takes over is the amygdala, the lizard brain, the part that only knows survive. Fight, flight, freeze. She chose flight. I'm his mother, she said. Her voice was steady, strange, like it belonged to someone else. I'm taking my son. You can call the police, you can call whoever you want, but I'm leaving. She pushed past Mrs. Chen, past Jerome. He grabbed her arm. Ma'am! She twisted, sharp, sudden, a move Ben had taught her when she was 16 after the youth pastor. Jerome's grip broke. She ran. Elijah's hand in hers, his backpack forgotten, his jacket forgotten, just him and her and the hallway stretching out forever. Behind them, lockdown, lockdown! The alarm started, high, shrill, kids screaming. She hit the front doors. They were locked, automatic, security protocol. She spun, saw the side exit, emergency only. She slammed through it. The alarm got louder. Outside, cold air, parking lot, and there, black car, Virginia plates, 2 men getting out. They saw her. She saw them. One of them reached inside his jacket. She turned, ran the other way, toward the street, toward anywhere. Elijah was crying now, confused, scared. "Mom, what's happening?" "Just run, baby, run." A van screeched up beside them, side door open. A woman leaned out, Asian, 40-something, scar across her eyebrow. "Get in!" Eunice didn't recognize her. Behind them, the two men, running, one of them shouting. The woman in the van, "Get in now, before they shoot!" That word, shoot, made the decision. Eunice threw Elijah into the van, climbed in after him. The door slammed. The van peeled out. Elijah was sobbing. Eunice pulled him into her lap, held him, rocked him. "It's okay, baby, it's okay. Mommy's here. Mommy's got you." The woman in the passenger seat turned around. Not the driver, someone else was driving, a man, silent, fast. "You're harder to track down than I expected." "Who are you?" "Someone who's been keeping you alive for the last 3 years." The van turned hard. Eunice and Elijah slid across the seat. "Where are you taking us?" "Somewhere those men can't follow." Who were they? Daniel's cleanup crew. He wasn't sending someone to protect your son. He was sending someone to disappear him. The words didn't make sense. Then they did. Then Eunice wished they didn't. No, he wouldn't. He would. He has. Twice before that I know of. The woman pulled out a tablet, showed her a photo. A girl, maybe 20, Latina, pretty, pregnant. Her name was Sophia. Daniel got her pregnant 4 years ago. She threatened to go public. 2 weeks later, she disappeared. They found her car in a river. No body. Another photo. Another girl. Younger. Asian. Also pregnant. Her name was May. Same story. Different year. Different river. Eunice couldn't breathe.
"Daniel doesn't leave loose ends," the woman said. "And a 6-year-old son? That's not a loose end. That's a noose." Elijah buried his face in Eunice's chest. He was still crying. Quieter now. The kind of crying that came from deep inside. The kind that stayed with you. "Why are you helping me?" Eunice asked. "Because someone should have helped them." The woman put the tablet away. "And because Min Yoongi is paying me to." Everything stopped. "What?" "Yoongi sent me. 3 days ago, after Ben died. He knew Jinwoo would come for you next, so he hired me to watch you, to keep you breathing long enough to figure out what the hell is going on." The van turned again. They were heading toward the industrial district. Empty warehouses, abandoned lots. "You work for Yoongi?" "I work for money. Right now, Yoongi has it." "So this is, what, a transaction?" The woman smiled. No warmth in it. "Everything's a transaction, honey. The sooner you learn that, the longer you live." They pulled into a warehouse. The driver, still silent, killed the engine. The woman opened the door. "Come on, we don't have much time." Inside, the warehouse was empty except for a table, 2 chairs, 1 light hanging from the ceiling, and sitting at the table, waiting like he'd been there all day, Yoongi. He looked at Eunice, at Elijah. "You ran," he said. "You sent them," Eunice's voice was shaking. "You sent those men to the school." "I sent Sujin." He nodded at the woman. "The men were Daniel's. I told you, he doesn't leave loose ends." "You knew he'd try to take Elijah." "I suspected. That's why Sujin was there." Eunice wanted to scream, wanted to hit him, wanted to do anything except stand there feeling like a puppet with invisible strings. "Why?" she asked. "Why do you care?" Yoongi stood, walked over to her, stopped just far enough away that she didn't feel cornered. "Because Park Jin-woo wants Daniel, and Daniel wants to disappear, and you," he looked at Elijah, "you have the one thing that makes Daniel vulnerable. His son. His legacy. His blood. His proof that he's human. Men like Daniel build empires on the lie that they're untouchable, that they don't have weaknesses. One child, one living, breathing reminder that they're mortal, and the whole thing collapses." Eunice held Elijah tighter. "I won't let you use him." "I'm not asking permission. He's 6 years old." I know. That's what makes him valuable. The van door opened. Another person walked in. Tall, white, expensive suit, salt and pepper hair. The kind of face you'd see on a campaign poster or a corporate website. Daniel. Elijah looked up. He'd never seen this man before, didn't know who he was, but Eunice knew, and Daniel knew that she knew. Eunice, Daniel said. His voice was calm, smooth, like they were running into each other at a coffee shop. Stay away from us. Daniel looked at Yoongi. This wasn't the arrangement. Arrangements change, Yoongi said. We had a deal. I give you Jinwoo, you give me clean passage out of the country. That was before I knew about him. Yoongi gestured at Elijah. Daniel's jaw tightened. First crack in the mask. The child is irrelevant. Funny, you sent 2 men to make sure he stayed irrelevant, permanently. I was protecting my interests. By killing your son? The warehouse went silent. Elijah looked up at Eunice. Mom, what's he talking about? She couldn't answer, couldn't move, couldn't do anything except stand there feeling like a puppet with invisible strings. This wasn't part of our arrangement, Daniel said. I'm changing the terms, Yoongi said. You want out? You want Jinwoo's head on a platter and a clean exit? Fine, but the price just went up. To what? Yoongi smiled. No warmth, no humor, just teeth. You tell me. Every transaction, every bribe, every body, every single thing you know about Jinwoo's operation, and then, he looked at Eunice, at Elijah, you sign over parental rights, legal, binding, witnessed. Absolutely not. Then Jinwoo gets a very interesting phone call about where you've been hiding your bastard son, and we see how long you last after that. Daniel's hand twitched. Muscle memory, reaching for something that wasn't there. Sujin moved, fast, gun out, pointed at Daniel's head. Don't, she said quietly. Daniel froze. Yoongi walked over to Eunice, crouched down so he was eye level with Elijah. Hey, he said. His voice was different now, softer. What's your name? Elijah looked at his mother. She nodded. Elijah. That's a strong name. You know what it means? Elijah shook his head. It means, my God is Yahweh. It means you're protected, no matter what. Yoongi glanced at Eunice, then back at Elijah. You're safe now, I promise. Promises don't mean anything, Daniel said. Yoongi stood, turned. You're right, they don't, but leverage does, and right now, I have it all. He pulled out a phone, showed Daniel the screen. Eunice couldn't see what it was on, but she saw Daniel's face go white. You're bluffing. Am I? Yoongi pocketed the phone. You have until midnight. Sign the papers, give me Jinwoo, or I send this to every news outlet, every federal agency, and every single person in Jinwoo's organization who'd love to know where you're hiding your bastard son. Daniel looked at Eunice. Really looked at her, for the first time in 6 years. You did this. You brought them into this.
No, Eunice said. Her voice was steady now, clear. You did, the moment you told me to disappear. Daniel's mask finally cracked, and underneath it was something she'd never seen before. Fear. Midnight came in a warehouse that smelled like rust and old concrete. Daniel signed the papers. Not because he wanted to, because Yoongi had footage, security cameras, Daniel entering a building 3 years ago, leaving 20 minutes later, a girl's body found the next morning, Sophia, the girl in the photo. Daniel's hand shook when he signed. Just a tremor, but Eunice saw it. First time she'd ever seen him afraid. Yoongi took the papers, folded them, handed them to Sujin. You have 12 hours, he told Daniel. Then I want Jinwoo's location, his suppliers, his distribution network, everything. Daniel stood, straightened his jacket. The mask was back, almost. And after? You disappear. For real, this time. Daniel looked at Elijah one last time,
The boy was asleep now, head on Eunice's shoulder, exhausted from crying. "He looks like you," Daniel said. Eunice said nothing. Daniel walked out. The door closed behind him. Yoongi sat down across from her, pulled out a cigarette. Didn't light it, just rolled it between his fingers. "You're wondering if you made a deal with the devil," he said. "I didn't make any deal." "You're here. That's a deal." Eunice looked at him, really looked, past the expensive suit, past the cold eyes, trying to find whatever made him human. "Why did you help me?" "I told you. Leverage." "That's not all of it." Yoongi stopped rolling the cigarette. "I had a sister, younger. She got involved with the wrong man, got pregnant. He told her to get rid of it. She refused." He put the cigarette down. "She disappeared 6 months later. They found her in a river, just like Sophia, just like May. The warehouse was so quiet, Eunice could hear her own heartbeat. I was 15, Yoongi continued, too young to do anything, too powerless. So I watched them rule it as suicide, watched him walk free, watched my parents bury an empty coffin because her body was too damaged to show." He looked at Elijah. "I swore I'd never be powerless again, that I'd never watch another man destroy a woman because he could, because the system protected him, because nobody else would stop him." "So you became this?" "I became useful. There's a difference." Eunice shifted Elijah in her arms. He mumbled something in his sleep, settled. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you go home, you live your life, you raise your son." "Just like that?" "Just like that." "And Jinwoo?" "My problem, not yours." She didn't believe him, but she was too tired to argue. Soo-jin drove them back. Eunice held Elijah the whole way, watched the city lights blur past the window. At her building, Yoongi was waiting outside. Of course he was. He opened the van door, helped her out. Didn't try to take Elijah. "You're on the 7th floor," he said. "I'm on the 5th. If you need anything—" "I won't." "You knock 3 times. I'll answer." She looked at him, at this man who'd turned her life inside out in less than 24 hours. "I don't trust you." "Good. You shouldn't." "But you helped me anyway." "I helped him," Yoongi looked at Elijah. "The rest was just logistics." She carried Elijah upstairs, put him to bed, still in his school clothes. She'd wash them tomorrow. She stood in his doorway, watched him sleep, his chest rising and falling, small, fragile, hers. Her phone buzzed, the regular one, not the burner, text from an unknown number. Daniel's body was found in the river an hour ago, ruled a suicide, no investigation. Jinwoo sends his regards. She deleted it, sat on the couch, stared at nothing. Here's what nobody tells you about survival. It doesn't feel like winning, it just feels like breathing. One breath, then another, until eventually you forget you were drowning. Someone knocked on her door, 3 times. She looked through the peephole. Yoongi. She opened the door, left the chain on. "It's done," he said. "I know. Jinwoo thinks Daniel killed himself because I was closing in. He doesn't know about Elijah. He never will." "Okay." Yoongi hesitated. First time she'd seen him unsure. "There's something else," he said. "Ben, before he died, he gave me a message." Eunice's throat tightened. He said, "Tell my sister I'm sorry. Tell her she was right. Tell her to name him something strong." Tears came before she could stop them. "He knew," she whispered, "about Elijah." "He knew, and he tried to kill me to protect you both. He failed, but he tried." Yoongi pulled an envelope from his jacket, held it out. "This was in his apartment. I think he'd want you to have it." She took it, hands shaking. Inside, money. A lot of money. And a note in Ben's handwriting. "For E's college, for Mom's grave, for you. I'm sorry I wasn't better. I'm sorry I wasn't enough. But you were. You always were." She closed the door, slid down to the floor, and cried until there was nothing left. When she finally got up, the sun was rising. She checked on Elijah, still asleep. She made coffee, stood at the window, watched the city wake up. Her phone buzzed one more time. "Same building, different floor. If you ever need me,
You know where I am. Why? She looked down at the street. Yoongi was standing outside, looking up. Their eyes met through 7 stories of glass and steel and everything that separated them. He nodded once, then walked away. Eunice stayed at the window until her coffee went cold, thinking about Ben, about Daniel, about all the ways love could break you and save you in the same breath. And she realized something. The elevator had been a trap, but maybe it was also an escape. But the story? The story was just beginning.